It is dramatic footage of police arresting a suspect accused of assaulting one of their own. Tonight, 2 men are facing charges. Good evening. That story in just a moment. But first, jurors and the public are hearing for the first time from the man accused of killing a Toronto police officer.
Umar Zameer took the stand in his own defense late this afternoon. CTV John Woodward was in court and joins us live with the details. John.
Nathan Umar Zameer testified at his own first-degree murder trial, describing the events that led up to the death of Constable Northrup in 2021. Umar Zameer entered Superior Court Tuesday morning with his lawyers and took the stand at his first-degree murder trial. The 31-year-old accountant presented as a family man with 3 young children who grew up in Pakistan and moved to Indonesia to marry his wife. In 2021, Zameer, his then pregnant wife, and a 2-year-old went downtown for Canada Day in the evening. He described wandering to Yonge Dundas Square and back playing with his 2-year-old along the way. The family walked by a man who had been stabbed before meeting a friend at Nathan Phillips Square, he said. I remember when the clock struck 12, we took pictures with the background of this clock tower. At one point, we saw all these police and fire trucks. There were paramedics taking someone off in a stretcher. We felt it was getting sketchy at night. We said, let's call it a night. That stabbing would bring plainclothes police to the City Hall parkade to scour for the stabbing suspect, including Constable Jeffery Northrup. Police officers have testified he and his partner approached Zameer's BMW because he fit a general description. Zameer's wife has already testified she didn't believe they were police and advised her husband to flee. He did, running over Constable Northrup in the process. He was arrested by other plainclothes officers on his way out of the parkade. Earlier in the day, the court heard from a defense crash reconstructionist. Barry Raftery's drawings show his understanding of how Zameer's BMW first lurched forward to the unmarked police van, then curved as it turned backwards and accelerated out of the parking garage. He suggested that Northrup, whose position was marked in blue on this diagram, was knocked down by the front of the car, then was lying down in the yellow zone marked in the diagram that was below the field of view of the driver. An adult laying at this height, would they be visible to the driver? Asked Zameer's lawyer, Nader Hassan. No, Raftery responded. The Crown lawyer, Michael Cantlin, pointed out that Northrup, at 300 pounds, was much larger than the average adult. Zameer has yet to testify about his experience of the incident itself and will also face tough questions in cross-examination. There's no doubt in this trial that Northrup was killed by Zameer's BMW, but the jury has to find Zameer intended to kill him to make those murder charges stick. And we expect him to answer questions on that subject from both sides as this trial continues. Reporting live, I'm John Woodward. Back to you.
Thank you, John. Police say it began as an attempted vehicle theft and ended with the assault of an officer.
It's just one of 2 incidents of assaults on officers here in the city, and one that has the police union speaking out. CTV's Mike Walker joins us live with the latest on this. Mike.
Well, Michelle, Nathan, Toronto police say a group of males were attempting to steal a vehicle last night in the Yonge and Finch area, and one officer was assaulted and suffered a serious leg injury. The president of the Police Association tells us there's heightened awareness among his members about the risks they face every day. Surveillance video shows a Toronto police officer tackling a suspect to the ground near Yonge and Shepherd last night in connection with an auto theft. 2 other police officers quickly arrive and assist with the arrest.
And I heard this sound, something hit to the window so hard. So everyone is like, see what's going on outside.
Emma Kim was inside a coffee shop as the commotion unfolded around 10 p.m. Toronto police say they were responding to an attempted auto theft near Yonge and Finch that resulted in a foot chase and 2 people arrested.
I saw lots of police and it seems like someone is arrested.
Police say during the arrest, one of the officers was assaulted and suffered a serious leg injury. The Toronto Police Association president says the injured officer underwent surgery today.
He's got a serious fracture to his leg as a result of trying to apprehend an individual who is involved with some others to steal a car. Again, this shows sort of, the dedication of our officers, but also I want to assure the public that we're out there trying to address this epidemic of car thefts.
A 19-year-old man from Woodbridge has been charged with attempted theft exceeding $5,000, having their face masked or disguised, and with aggravated assault of a peace officer. Police also charged a 19-year-old Toronto man with attempted theft exceeding $5,000 and having their face masked or disguised.
Generally speaking, we need to make sure we have public support out there for police officers, I think, from all levels of government. And there is that heightened awareness now, I think, of our members of the risks that they may face each and every day.
About an hour after that incident last night, another police officer was assaulted near Queen and Duncan while walking to the station in full uniform. A witness intervened.
He was actually just completed a pay duty and was walking back to the station when an individual walked up to her, asked her if she's a police officer, then proceeded to punch her in the face.
In that case, a 31-year-old man was charged with assaulting an officer. Both injured officers are expected to be okay. Now, the two suspects arrested in the vehicle theft incident appeared in court this morning. We're told there's at least 3 outstanding suspects, but at this time, police have not provided any additional details. Reporting live, I'm Mike Walker. Back to you.
Thank you, Mike. Still ahead on CTV News, York Region announces plans to put the brakes on illegal car rallies. We'll show you the new tactics they plan to use to curb the growing problem.
But first, there's a live look outside. Still a few clouds, but well above seasonal and a lovely day. Jessica Smith is here with a look at the current conditions. Jessica.
We topped out at about 18 degrees, well above that seasonal mark around 10. And we're looking at a southeasterly wind for the most part into the second half of the day. That is really quite pleasant and nice to spend some time outside. But we are dealing with some active weather in and around the city and the GTA. We saw hail in Barrie not that long ago, some rain in towards Brampton. And as we head through the evening, the bulk of that low is north of us. But as it kind of extends down along a cold front, that's where the chance of pop-up showers rolls in for us here in the downtown core and throughout the GTA, really between 7 p.m. and about 10. It won't be a lot if it does come to fruition, but it'll be a short burst, so just keep that in mind. Temperature-wise, it's still really mild as we head in towards the end of our day today. Right around the Golden Horseshoe, Niagara right now at 24 degrees. We're sitting at 23 through St. Catharines, over towards Ajax sitting at 10, Cobourg at 14. And for us here in the GTA, for the most part, we're kind of in that 17 to 18 degree range. Coming up, we'll have a full look at your long range forecast, including a Texas low we are tracking set to bring some pretty intense rain as we head in towards the end of the week. But right now, back over to Michelle.
Thank you, Jess. Toronto police are asking for the public's help to find a man they consider armed and dangerous. Police are looking for this man, 67-year-old Alfonso Corpus of Toronto. He's wanted on a warrant for second-degree murder. Police say he's 5'6", 150 pounds, and has dark hair. He's wanted in the death of a man early Saturday morning near Bathurst and Wilson. Witnesses tell CTV News they saw a struggle between 2 men before one fell to the ground. Police say the man was stabbed and was pronounced dead at the scene.
The man found guilty of carrying out a terror attack against a Muslim family in London will appeal his convictions. Nathaniel Veltman's defense lawyer confirmed to CTV News Veltman is attempting to overturn the jury's verdict. Veltman was found guilty of 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count for attempted murder for hitting the Afzaal family with his pickup truck in 2021. In November, the judge ruled Veltman committed a deliberate act of terrorism and sentenced him to life in prison.
To Vaughan next, where officials say they have a new plan to put the brakes on illegal car rallies.
The city says it will amend current bylaws in an attempt to curb the growing trend. CTV's Raheem Ladani reports.
They're continuing to do their burnouts and smoke shows.
Burnouts, donuts, and hanging out of car windows. All examples of stunt driving. The city of Vaughan is putting the brakes on.
Your free ride is over. You are not welcome here.
Illegal car rallies have escalated across York Region, with more than 500 taking place since 2001. Last month, one of them turned violent when a 15-year-old girl was shot in a plaza and survived.
We are committed to eliminating these rallies through Operation Silent Night, a continuous collaboration in a multifaceted enforcement strategy.
Move in and shut this party down.
Instead of targeting only the drivers at unauthorized rallies, Vaughan's mayor is now reaching further, amending an events bylaw. It prohibits everything from sponsoring, collecting money for, coordinating, advertising, or hosting a car rally, spectating, attending, or bringing a vehicle, driving or riding as a passenger, stopping, slowing, or impeding the movement of traffic, and being a vendor.
I really hope you understand exactly how intimidating and how scary these illegal car rallies can be for our residents.
One of the biggest challenges in shutting down these events has been social media. Police say it is now a major tool in the car rally industry when it comes to evading officers.
They can move quickly as well and be out of the area and into another area just as quick. Cancel a location, start up a new location. So, we're trying to get ahead of that.
With fines ranging from $1,000 to $10,000 and noise violations up to $5,000, Insurance companies are also issuing their own warning.
If your vehicle is modified and is not known to your insurance company, you risk your insurance coverage. Meaning that if you hurt someone, damage property, that's coming out of your own pocket.
Stiff penalties they hope will curb the illegal events. Rahim Ladani, CTV News, Toronto.
2 women are facing charges tonight accused of leaving children unattended in a vehicle for hours.
Police say the kids told authorities they were left alone so the women could go inside a casino. CTV's Janice Golding is live tonight in Pickering with more. Janice.
Hi, Michelle. Yes, Durham Regional Police have arrested 2 GTA women after they allegedly left 3 young children alone, unsupervised in a car for hours while they went inside the casino to gamble. The Pickering Casino Resort fully opened to the public just under a year ago. And as you can see from all the cars in the parking lot, it's become quite an attraction. But last night, the new casino garnered some unwanted attention after 3 children were found wandering by a live roadway around 8 p.m.
When police arrived on scene, they spoke with the eldest child, who said that he had been left with the other 2 children in the vehicle so their mother could enter the casino. Upon further investigation, they learned that the child was given a cell phone to contact the mother, which had since died, and they had been left in the car for upwards of over 4 hours.
Durham Regional Police say they entered the casino and found the mother of a 9- and 10-year-old, as well as the mother of a 2-year-old child, and charged them with a variety of offenses. The Children's Aid Society was also contacted and initiated its own investigation.
Ridiculous, no? Why you leave those kids just to gamble?
I feel sorry for the kids and the mother. I hate them.
I think they should lock the parents up and throw the key away.
Police say leaving young children unattended for 4 hours is extraordinarily dangerous.
Unsupervised children can get into mischief. They can hurt themselves. They can be abducted. There's so many obstructions and so many dangerous things that they can get into. You don't know if they're going to have a medical emergency. You don't know if they're going to be okay, if they're going to be hot in the car, cold in the car. So many factors that go into it.
Investigators say they were called after both security video cameras and witnesses passing by on the roadway saw the children playing outside unsupervised. A 39-year-old woman from Aurora as well as a 41-year-old woman from Markham have been charged with leave child unattended under the Child, Youth and Family Services Act. Reporting live, Janice Golding. Now back to Nathan.
Thank you, Janice. Also ahead tonight, a new campaign that aims to draw attention to the growing number of hate crimes in the city. Why police believe public education may be the key.
To get to its goal of building 1.5 million new homes by the year 2031, the provincial government says variety will be the key.
But it's a type of variety, like student housing and retirement home spaces, that has the opposition calling the government standards into question. CTV's Queen's Park Bureau Chief Siobhan Morris is live at Queen's Park with the details. Siobhan.
Well, Nathan, everybody at Queen's Park seems to agree that we need to build more housing for students and for seniors. But what the opposition says the government is doing here is trying to make their housing start numbers look better than they really are.
First, it was new beds in long-term care, counted towards the province's goal of 1.5 million additional homes by 2031. Now, retirement home spaces and student housing like dorms could be looped in too.
What are they going to count next? Jail cells? I mean, come on. People need housing. They need homes.
The housing minister counters that's exactly what the government's doing.
I'm not going to apologize for trying to do better for students. I'm not going to apologize for trying to do better for seniors.
Calandra feels that in striving for that 1.5 million new homes goal, variety to help all kinds of people matters.
If you're going to build sustainable communities where people want to come and invest, we need to build homes of all types that people can afford.
For the Liberal leader, the new qualifications miss the point.
The point of building affordable homes is a place where people can raise their families. And you can't do that in a dorm room. And you can't do that in a long-term care bed.
There are accusations the government's trying to fluff up their housing stats.
It's a cover-up to the fact that the government is failing to meet its housing target.
An accusation Calandra brushes off.
If we're unable to get that accomplished for the people of the province of Ontario, I think it will be highly noticeable.
The Premier's continuing to be challenged on how much taxpayer money's being spent on his closest advisors.
The Premier's bloated office staff budget at $6.9 million, I think it is now.
That covers employees on the Sunshine List, earning more than $100,000 a year. Their number and compensation has more than doubled since 2019.
48 of those people make more than the median family income, not individual income, family income. I don't think that's just wrong. I think it's obscene.
The Premier has deflected attacks on this, refocusing on tax increases under the former Liberal government.
John Fraser gave the Premier a gift of sorts today, a can of gravy meant to highlight, he says, the gravy train he feels like is running through the Premier's office. Reporting live from Queen's Park, I'm Siobhan Morris. Nathan, back to you.
Thank you, Siobhan. As the TDSB looks to shed surplus real estate in order to balance its budget, Toronto City Hall says for the right price, it may be a buyer.
Municipal officials are eyeing school board land as sites for affordable housing or community hubs, but provincial permission could stand in the way. CTV's Natalie Johnson explains.
In the heart of Midtown, Davisville Junior Public School was recently rebuilt and reopened. And soon more shovels will hit the ground here for a new aquatic and community center next to the school on TDSB property. The students will have access to the indoor pools, while the community center users can benefit from the school's gym and underground parking. A partnership some councillors say is a no-brainer when it comes to the city leveraging the land.
There's only so much public land that we have in the city, and when it comes to providing community services, creating hubs where you can provide both educational opportunities but also perhaps a recreation center, an aquatic center, libraries. The residents of the city want us to work together.
And so at City Hall today,
we are in a housing crunch. All those in favor?
The mayor's executive greenlit a plan for the city to work with the TDSB to identify school board sites suitable for development, for affordable housing or other community infrastructure.
If we could provide a bit more density in some of the land, and that if we could build it together, yes, it could revitalize the school. It can retrofit some spaces.
Problem is, a provincial rule requires the school board sell any surplus land for fair market value, which the city can't necessarily afford.
We're not going to demand that we be sold these places for $1. But where fair market value turns out to be $55 million because it's next to a subway, you're just not going to meet the social good.
The TDSB, meanwhile, has been looking to shed surplus land, calling on the province to allow it to close underutilized schools to save operations costs as it struggles with a structural deficit. An idea the education minister rejected yesterday.
They need to act as a responsible actor of tax dollars and do what virtually every board will do, which is balance their budget.
Municipal officials, meantime, eyeing all that prime property, saying the school board might hold the land that the city is in search of. Natalie Johnson, CTV News.
In Ottawa, members of the Prime Minister's senior staff appeared before the Foreign Interference Committee today.
The testimony focused on when they found out about Chinese meddling in the last two federal elections and what they knew. CTV's Michael Couture reports.
The inquiry is getting closer to the center of power in this country and digging deeper into the foreign interference in the last two elections. Now, during the 2019 campaign, CSIS told Justin Trudeau's election campaign director there were concerns about Han Dong's nomination. But Jeremy Broadhurst decided there was no action to be taken.
It has enough credibility that we're sharing it with you, but we can't point to, here's a voter that voted illegally. They couldn't point to a picture of a bus that had showed up and said, that's the bus we're talking about.
There are allegations that China may have tried to tamper with the Liberal nomination in a Toronto area riding by busing Chinese students to vote for Han Dong. Earlier, current and former senior government officials explained how persistent foreign interference has been as a threat to Canada.
Our ability and our knowledge of that threat is growing, and as are the capabilities of those who seek to disrupt and to interfere.
The statement came after questioning over a 2023 document referring to a meeting where Canada's spy agency briefed the Prime Minister's office. It calls foreign interference in Canada low risk and high reward because there are few legal and political consequences. And it explicitly says until foreign interference is viewed as an existential threat to Canadian democracy and governments forcefully and actively respond, these threats will persist.
I would say government has not yet taken all the actions because, in fact, this is an area where the policy approach of the government and the toolkit of the government has evolved.
The Prime Minister's National Security Advisor continues to insist just because foreign actors are trying to meddle in Canada's affairs, they're not always successful.
We haven't seen that those attempts and activities of FI had an impact in the two elections.
A testimony for this part of the inquiry concludes tomorrow, when we'll hear directly from the Prime Minister, where he'll face questions about what he knew and when he knew it. Mike Lecouteur, CTV News, Ottawa.
A vote is expected in the House of Commons tomorrow on a motion calling for the Prime Minister to convene a meeting on the carbon tax.
Why doesn't he have the courage to sit down in a televised and open forum and have a carbon tax conference with the premiers?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
We did sit down with the premiers 8 years ago and established the Pan-Canadian Framework on Climate Change that both puts a price on pollution and puts more money back in the pockets out of 8 of 10 Canadian families in the jurisdictions where the federal backstop applies.
The Conservatives tabled the motion today. It includes a demand that the emergency meeting be held within 5 weeks. The Liberals say it is hard to have a conversation with premiers who they insist don't have any alternative plans to address climate change.
Meanwhile, a new report finds the federal government is more than $14 billion short of where it said it would be on climate funding. And that sparked this exchange in the House.
The Prime Minister is delaying $15 billion that he promised to hardworking Canadians to lower their costs and their emissions. Yet the Prime Minister has no problem finding $18.6 billion in free subsidies for big oil and gas. So why is it that the Prime Minister wants to put shoulder the burden of the climate crisis on hardworking people?
It's unfortunate to see that the NDP seems to be falling into the Conservative misinformation trap. Our price on pollution actually puts more money back in the pockets of 8 out of 10 Canadian families right across the country.
The data from Corporate Night shows the Liberals had pledged to spend about $49 billion, but so far have spent $34 billion. The figures also show that since 2015, there's been a 30% shortfall between what the government is committed to spending on climate and what it has actually invested.
The White House says an in-person meeting on the planned ground invasion of Rafah will take place in a couple of weeks. The U.S. and other Israeli allies have warned against an assault on the southern city where more than 1 million people are taking shelter. There are fears a major military operation would be extremely dangerous for civilians there. Yesterday, Israel's prime minister said a date had been set for the operation. Today, the Israeli defense minister reportedly told his American counterpart no date has been determined.
Israel and Hamas are reviewing a new ceasefire proposal presented to both sides during the latest round of talks in Cairo. It includes a 6-week pause in fighting and an exchange of 40 hostages being held in Gaza for at least 700 Palestinians in Israeli prisons. Hamas says the deal meets none of its demands, but will study the offer further and deliver a response to mediators. The proposal also calls for Israel to gradually dismantle checkpoints it built on a road that split the Gaza Strip in half to prevent the return of Palestinians.
The parents of a Michigan teen who killed 4 classmates have each been sentenced to 10 to 15 years in prison.
The remorse that they were showing has nothing to do with taking accountability for their actions. I'm sure they were sad people lost their lives. I'm sure they're sad their son is in jail. I'm sure they're sad that they're in jail. That's not what's important. What was important for them to recognize that they made mistakes.
A jury convicted Jennifer and James Crumbley of manslaughter, finding both responsible in the 2021 shooting at a high school in Oxford. Prosecutors said they were criminally negligent for providing a gun to their child as a Christmas present and for ignoring signs his mental health had deteriorated and that he was potentially violent. Ethan Crumbley was sentenced to life in prison without parole.
For the first time, an international court has ruled on climate change. Europe's highest human rights court says member countries must better protect their citizens from the consequences of climate change. Today's verdict was in favor of a group of older women in Switzerland. They insist their health is at risk during heat waves because the government isn't doing enough to fight climate change. The court agreed, saying it's a violation of their rights. Swiss officials say they'll study the decision to see what steps are needed. The ruling also sets a precedent for other cases linking climate change to human rights. Meantime, new data shows global temperatures in March set another record for the 10th straight month.
So seeing records like this month in, month out, really shows us that our climate is changing rapidly, and climate change isn't a future problem. It's a problem that we have to face here and now.
Temperatures in the air and the oceans hit an all-time high. The European Union Climate Agency says March averaged just over 14 degrees Celsius. That's higher than the old 2016 record by a tenth of a degree.
We have some new video of that volcano that first erupted in Iceland more than 3 weeks ago. Lava is spewing from the volcano that has blown its stack several times since December. One crater is erupting, but the flow is confined close to the volcanic cone. An emergency alert has now been lowered to a danger level. The site is a few kilometers northeast of the town of Grindavik. Several buildings were consumed by the lava there during a second eruption in January. Iceland sits above a volcanic hotspot in the North Atlantic and sees regular eruptions. It's been dubbed the Keith Lee effect. An American food critic with a massive social media following tastes his way through the GTA, whipping up a surge in business in his wake.
And there's still lots of sunshine out there, but there is a slight risk of maybe a passing shower as we head in towards the early evening. So just keep that in mind and have the umbrella handy just in case you're out for a walk tonight. The good news is it stays very mild as we head through the rest of our evening and into the day tomorrow. Some parts of southern Ontario reaching into the 20s. I'll have your full forecast coming up. And stay with us. We've got another full night of great shows for you right here on CTV.
With hate crime numbers on the rise in the city, Crime Stoppers and the Toronto Police Service has launched a new campaign aimed at raising awareness.
The message of that campaign is clear. Hatred has no place in the city. In the post-COVID era, Toronto police and forces around the world are seeing a rise in hate crimes.
The impact of hate crimes in our communities is powerful, destructive, and deep. We know that the impact of crime motivated by hate is significant, far-reaching, extending far beyond physical and emotional trauma.
To combat the hate, Crime Stoppers has launched a new campaign with a public service announcement airing on the radio and social media ads. The campaign has the support of the Toronto Police Services Board and the Toronto Police. It aims to educate and encourage people to report possible hate crimes.
The focus of this initiative is straightforward. Create awareness in the community on this issue, and most importantly, remind citizens they have a conduit to relay anonymous information into Crime Stoppers.
The message, community safety is a shared responsibility, and reporting a hate crime may save someone's life.
Following last week's vacant home tax notice fiasco, the mayor says there will be a full accounting of what happened at the next city council meeting.
There are a host of problems, one of which is if there are 17,000 homeowners that had to pay the vacancy tax, how could we possibly send out 125,000 notice? That's wrong. Okay, so someone messed up.
Tens of thousands of Torontonians received vacant property tax notices in the mail, despite the fact they live in those properties. Lines could be seen at tax offices across the city last week as confused residents showed up looking for answers. The city has also taken steps to ensure those billed in error don't have to pay the fees.
Those new lane restrictions on the Gardiner continue to have an impact on drivers. One eastbound lane has been closed between Dufferin and Strawn as part of the Gardiner Expressway Rehabilitation Project. That closure began last night. The city says there will be intermittent overnight closures of a second lane as needed. The eastbound on-ramp from Lakeshore east of Jameson will also be closed. Meanwhile, one westbound lane will be closed starting tomorrow.
A prescribed burn is underway in High Park. This is the view from the CTV News Shopper. The burn is part of a long-term management plan to protect the park's rare black oak savannas. The fires burn low to the ground and consume dried leaves, small twigs, and grass stems, but do not impact larger trees. A traditional ceremony and smudge led by an Indigenous elder took place before the burn. The burn is expected to continue until 6 p.m.
Inevitably, people go, what's that smoke? Yeah, it was the burn, but conditions seem to be really nice for it. I mean, gorgeous day, double digits. It is still warm right now.
Yeah, and all this talk about burn, I'm thinking about sunblock. I guess we got to start wearing it.
'Tis the season. I mean, I wear it year-round, and everybody else should
Good
too.
for you.
But we're getting into that time of year where you have to start thinking about sun protection, and it's going to be one of those days tomorrow where you're going to really want to put on the sunscreen because it's another beautiful day ahead of us. Weather is brought to you by Train, the most reliable heating and cooling brand. It's hard to stop a train. It has been a beautiful day. We saw the sunshine come out just in time for the eclipse to end yesterday, and then it has continued as we've made our way throughout the day today. Mostly southerly or southeasterly wind has also really helped warm things up, and it's been really beautiful throughout the day. And temperature-wise, it's still super nice out there if you want to get out for an evening walk, but we are still contending with the chance of maybe a passing shower, even pop-up thunderstorm, very brief in nature, from about, well, now until maybe about 10 p.m. Temperature-wise, though, we're still sitting at 23 here, in Windsor. We're at 17 here in the city of Toronto. We're at 17 through North Bay, up through Sault Ste. Marie at 11, even through Peawanuck. They're on the positive side at 8 degrees. We're holding on to this warmth. This ridge is really kind of encompassing all of Ontario, and this carries us into the day tomorrow as well. Tonight, it's mild. We're sitting at 8 degrees. We should be at 2, so any of that warmth we've built up throughout the day not really going anywhere. And we'll see a fairly moderate southerly wind, southwesterly, as we head through the evening at about 10 kilometers an hour, and we stay really mild right through to the start of the day tomorrow. The bulk of that low is sitting in northern Ontario, kind of north of Sault Ste. Marie, but as it kind of sweeps down along a cold front, that's where the chance of maybe a pop-up shower really rolls into the kind of north and east end of the city. We've seen a few pop-up showers towards Barrie and through Brampton, but that has all kind of passed as we made our way through the early evening. As we head through the rest of our night, again, that's where it kind of rolls in. We're not looking at it being too significant if it does come through, and then by the time we get past midnight, it is all gone. As we get into the start of the day tomorrow, high pressure really holding firm, a beautiful day. If you can get out even for a minute, just a little fresh air, a little sunshine, I recommend. As we head in towards the evening, it'll be clear as well. Now, Thursday, a whole different story. This is a Texas low coming in to bring some pretty significant moisture. This carries us to the late morning and off and on throughout the day with the risk of pop-up thunderstorms into the early evening. Temperature-wise, we're above seasonal today, tomorrow, into Friday, even with that rain, but it's after the bulk of that system pushes through. Behind it, a little bit cooler air, but to be fair, it's just seasonal. We'll be at 17 through our Wednesday, Thursday, there's all that rain. Into Friday, we do cool down, just 9 for the high, but then as we get into towards the weekend, things clear up a little bit, the chance of a lingering shower, but overall, Nathan, it'll be pretty nice.
All right, good to know. Thank you, Jess. Also on tap, a warning about the province's plan to sell liquor in convenience stores and calls to make sure the price of alcohol doesn't go down. That's coming up.
It may mean added convenience for consumers, but there are concerns about the health risks of the province's plan to expand where Ontarians can buy alcohol.
And there are also concerns about competition. CTV's health reporter Pauline Chan has more.
Ontarians can currently purchase alcohol at some 2,300 stores, but last December, Doug Ford announced that 8,500 additional stores will be allowed to sell alcohol by 2026, and that includes convenience stores and even gas stations.
I think the evidence is that many of the proposals from the government should raise concern that we will see increased alcohol use and harms.
In recent years, alcohol sales, in particular beer, have been declining as health consciousness grows and fewer people go to bars and restaurants. But Dr. Daniel Myron says this will be a major change.
All of the planned stores are going to be privately owned and operated. And that will be a big shift in how alcohol is sold in Ontario right now, because there's a large portion of sales come through the LCBO.
And the concern is that more stores will lead to competition and prices dropping.
There's really, really strong and robust evidence showing that the cheaper alcohol is, the more people consume it and the more harms that you see from it.
The healthcare burden caused by alcohol is already significant.
In Ontario, in 2020, it was estimated to cause 6,200 deaths, 250,000 emergency room visits, and just under 50,000 hospital admissions. And when you added up the costs to society across the health system, the criminal justice system, you are looking at a price tag of just over $7 billion.
Dr. Myron's recommendations include maintaining a minimum price limit for alcoholic beverages.
Saskatchewan put in policies increasing the price of alcohol, and they found that, for every approximately 10% that they increased the price of alcohol, there was a corresponding 10% decrease in consumption.
And while the health toll from alcohol addiction is dramatic, even moderate alcohol use is linked to health risks.
Alcohol, even at low levels, increases the risk of developing several types of cancer, so breast cancer, colorectal cancer.
He's also calling for warning labels on alcoholic drinks, saying consumers need to be aware of the risks. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
The ground has been broken for a new hospital in Etobicoke.
The Gilligan Family Queensway Health Centre will be a dedicated centre for complex care and rehabilitation services.
It will add 350 new beds to the system, including private rooms for complex care and rehabilitation services. It will connect more people here, right here in Etobicoke and in Mississauga and neighboring communities to convenient health care closer to home. And friends, right across this province, we're building a stronger, more resilient healthcare system.
Premier Doug Ford and Health Minister Sylvia Jones joined hospital officials for the milestone moment. Those services are delivered across 6 different sites in the GTA due to capacity issues at Trillium Health Partners. This expansion will allow patients to get specialized care closer to where they live.
The federal government calls it an important part of generational fairness. The federal Liberals announcing a new $500 million youth mental health fund.
The fund will help community mental health organizations across the country provide more access to mental health care for younger Canadians right in their communities. Because better funding for mental health services means that younger Canadians can get the help they need right when and where they need it most.
The government says many Canadians are facing stress and anxiety due to war, geopolitical unrest, climate change, and financial strains. Young people often do not have the tools they need to cope. The funding will be included in the federal budget that will be tabled next Tuesday.
After the break, GTA restaurants get a big boost from TikTok food reviews, the viral food critic, and the customers lining up to taste something new.
Good food, good mood. That's a concept of a new book that delves into the tips for feeling better by eating better. CP24 Breakfast, where Toronto gets its everything every morning.
Updating our top stories for the first time, jurors have heard from the man accused of killing a Toronto police officer as Umar Zameer took the stand in his own defense. Zameer is accused of running down Constable Jeffery Northrup inside the underground parking garage at Toronto City Hall.
And I heard this sound, something hit to the window so hard. So everyone is like, see what's going on outside.
2 Toronto police officers were assaulted in separate incidents overnight, including one where an officer tried to stop a vehicle theft. The Toronto Police Association says the incidents highlight the dangers their officers face on a daily basis.
Your free ride is over. You are not welcome here.
And Vaughan announces a crackdown on illegal car rallies. The region trying new tactics to tackle a growing trend that police have had trouble getting under control.
Remember to keep up to date day and night through our website, ctvnewstoronto.ca, and by downloading the CTV News app. And if you have a news tip, photos, or video of breaking news, let us know.
More than 5 years after legalization, the financial outlook for a major Canadian cannabis company remains hazy. BNN Bloomberg's Amber Canwar has the latest in business.
Shares in cannabis company Tilray had their worst day in almost a year as the company cut its profit forecast. The company saw higher sales in its cannabis division and in its craft beer unit last quarter, but it failed to live up to expectations. Even worse, the company still isn't turning a profit. The company's shares fell about 20%, and they're now worth about 40% of what they were as recently as September, and down by more than 90% since their peak in 2021. Shares of BlackBerry jumped on the TSX today after the former smartphone maker turned software company announced it's teaming up with chip maker AMD on a new robotics application. Now, the collaboration combines BlackBerry's QNX platform currently used in cars with AMD's hardware. BlackBerry made the announcement this morning at a trade show in Germany. Boeing shareholders got another bumpy ride as the company's stock fell to the lowest level in more than a year. This comes after reports that the Federal Aviation Administration in the U.S. is investigating safety issues with its 787 Dreamliner jet. A former Boeing employee and whistleblower who worked on the plane says that sections of the fuselage were improperly fastened in a way that would weaken them over time. The Dreamliner probe comes in addition to the company's ongoing woes with its 737 MAX jets since a door panel flew out mid-flight earlier this year. Now let's take a look at the closing market numbers. The Canadian dollar held steady at around 73 cents U.S., while oil slipped below $85 per barrel. Canadian oil prices also slipped below $72 per barrel. Nevertheless, it was an update on the TSX closing at a record high. That's the latest in business. I'm Amber Canwar in the BNN Bloomberg Newsroom.
The Business Report is brought to you by Canadian Western Bank, the bank built for business.
The Raptors play their final home game of the season tonight.
Quickly to Gary, sidestep, and he got it.
Toronto's won 2 straight after snapping a 15-game losing streak Friday in Milwaukee. Tonight they host Indiana before traveling to Brooklyn tomorrow night. They finish the season with a pair of games in Miami on the weekend.
Marner stayed out. He was headed off. Here's a pass. McCabe wins it. Jake McCabe.
The Maple Leafs are looking for their 3rd straight win as they visit New Jersey tonight. Toronto is coming off that 3-2 overtime win over Pittsburgh last night and Austin Matthews' 65th goal.
And a base hit into left field.
And the Blue Jays can even their season record at 6-6 with a win over Seattle tonight. Toronto beat the Mariners 5-2 in their home opener at Rogers Center last night. Chris Bassett is on the mound tonight against Seattle's George Kirby.
Tonight, parents of a school shooter sentenced to prison.
Not once did they say, yes, I really wish I would have locked the gun up.
Legal history testing the limits of who can be held responsible. Later on CTV National News.
His restaurant reviews have become a viral sensation. TikToker Keith Lee is visiting the GTA and eating his way around town to the delight of his millions of followers.
Those reviews providing a big boost to the local restaurants who are finding and feeding new fans. CTV's Beth McDonnell has more.
That's good. That's real good, actually. In Detroit, we call these pitas.
American food critic Keith Lee is famous for his TikTok reviews, often giving the small businesses he chooses to sink his teeth into a big boost. After Lee's visit to the GTA, the spillover effect is ranging from long lines for shawarma in Scarborough to backyard sweets in Ajax selling out.
This is my first time in the 9s. 9 out of 10.
Afro's Pizza in downtown Toronto is unassuming on the outside and tiny on the inside. And after Lee's review, the owners are jammed with hundreds of orders. They serve delights like samosa pizza and one topped with compressed watermelon with tequila.
We actually did not know who Keith Lee was. We didn't even know he ordered food until he came in and presented himself.
With the added attention, chefs Nathan Wang and Rodney Bess really wish one of their ovens wasn't down. The parts are en route from Europe while they cook for their newly influenced clientele. The goal has been to get another bigger space, a dream they believe will come sooner now thanks to all their online food reviewers over the past 7 months. Not just Lee's. It's locals, they say, who told Lee to try it.
The key to success of what this business is, I believe for him, he's the one that's able to help us get our awareness out for us. But the hard work is actually mainly done by us because of our commitment to the quality of the food that we actually produce.
And that quality is being put to the test.
I'm here for the hype and the pizzas.
I love Keith Lee. I discovered his TikTok recently before he was in Toronto. So when he came to Toronto, I was really excited.
After a 40-minute wait, friends Mikkel Augustus and Jasmine Shannon are trying the same 9 out of 10 pizza and mac and cheese Lee had.
I give the mac and cheese like a 7. And then the pizza, it's a good pizza. I'll give it like an 8.
No, I would give it a 9.
I
Give it a 9?
I would give it a 9. Yeah, it's good. Proving the power of social media and food worth tasting go hand in hand. Beth McDonnell, CTV News.
All right, say it, Mish. You're hungry now.
We are all, I don't know, we're all
That's your
starving
line.
now. It's like,
Just talking about grocery shopping. I'm like,
yum.
I have to go get pizza now.
Yeah, what's cooking in the weather department?
A fantastic forecast for the rest of the night. There is a chance of maybe a light passing shower kind of north of the city, but to be fair, even if it does come, it'll be quite light in nature, and it's a beautiful kind of second half to the day, and we hold on to a lot of that sunshine and warmth into the day tomorrow. A great forecast for going out and eating some pizza. Temperature-wise, as we head through the rest of our evening, we're staying above seasonal. We're staying at about 8. We should be at 2, so we're not wildly above where we should be, but it's comfortable. A light southwesterly wind, a few light clouds out there, and really and truly a wonderful night ahead of us. We don't really see a temperature shift at all as we start the day tomorrow, so relatively mild, kicking things off at about, between 6 and 8 a.m. Over the next 7 days, we do a little bit of a roller coaster. We do have sunshine into the day tomorrow. A Texas low set to bring some heavy rain into our Thursday, but it clears out just in time for the weekend.
All right, thank you, Jess. Be sure to join Heather Buzz tonight at 11 for CTV National News, followed by Zarada Allman with our next local newscast at 11:30.
In the meantime, our coverage continues anytime on CP24 and online at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Jessica Smith and all of us at CTV News, thank you for watching and have a good night.